Hi, my name is Patrick Clark, and this video is going to cover the very fundamental basics of Windows 10. And when I say basic, I mean basic, because a lot of people, especially the elderly, have never had those basic things we all take for granted, like pointing and clicking, and dragging and dropping, explained to them. And when you're working with people over the phone, oftentimes they will go, yeah, I understand what you mean. And after a little discussion, you find out, no, they don't, but they've been a little embarrassed to tell you about it. So this video is going to cover the real bare bones stuff. Today, we're not going to get into the internet. We're just going to explore the Windows desktop, and this is specific for Windows 10. We are going to cover topics like the logon password. Just what is that? Is it similar to your bank password? Short answer, no, it's not. We're going to cover the desktop icons and what the desktop is. We're also going to cover right-clicking versus left-clicking and drop-down menus. And we're also going to look at just what a window is, since everything that you do on a Windows computer happens in a window. That's kind of important. We're going to look at the window icons that are in a window. And we're going to look at how you move a window around, clicking and dragging. That's also going to include resizing the window and why you would do such a thing. Okay, we're also going to look at the recycle bin, that mysterious icon that is on a lot of Windows desktops. What is it? What exactly does it do, and why is it there? Then we're going to look at the start menu briefly, and why it does what it does, and how to find programs, or as they call them occasionally now, apps. Then we're going to take a good brief look at the taskbar. That's the lower area of your screen at the bottom, and what it's all about. And we're going to look at the search box, and we're going to look at unpinning and pinning icons. And then finally, we're going to look at how to properly log off Windows. That is, how to properly shut it down. There is a right way, and there's lots of wrong ways to do it. And if you do it the right way, it will save you a great deal of grief in the future. So let's get to it. Let's get into the fundamentals of Windows 10. Here we go. Okay, this is a mouse, and I'm sure you know that, but I just want to make clear what the buttons do. This particular mouse has 3 buttons. A left mouse button, which you're going to use 80% of the time. A right mouse button, which you're going to use the other 20%. The scroll wheel does different things depending on what you're doing at the time. We won't cover the scroll wheel now because it is very program dependent. We're just going to deal with the left mouse button, which you use 80% of the time, the right mouse button. Okay, the leftmost button is used for picking things on the screen, like icons. And the way it works is you point to an icon and then you click once with the leftmost button. That tells the computer you're interested in that item, right? If you were then to right click, you will get a menu and it'll give you a bunch of different options, right? And the options will vary depending on the program or the icon. If you point to an icon and you double left click, that is 2 left clicks rapidly, that will start the program. Okay? And again, it's going to be the leftmost button used most of the time. Okay, when you first turn on your computer, after a moment or two, you are going to reach what's called the startup screen. This is going to be a screen with a picture on it and the time and date in the left-hand corner. Your picture will be different than the one you can see on my test machine. It may or may not have other text on it. These pictures normally come from Microsoft, and they can change them whenever they like, usually once a day. You can also have your own permanent picture. So you could have a slideshow of your family photos or whatever. And this is, like I said, called the startup screen. Now, when you left click on it, you are asked for a password. And this is your Windows password. Its main purpose is to get you into Windows. So you can start using your machine. Now, because this is a test machine that I'm using, my name on the machine is called Test. If it were a real machine, like one of my home machines, it would be called Patrick. And I would type in a password to get into the computer, to get into the machine to the point where I could start using it. This password can be anything you like and was initially set up when the computer was first purchased and turned on in most cases. Microsoft likes you to have an account with them to do this, and that's something that occurs when the machine is first brought home and turned on for the first time. However, it's important to note that the password here has nothing to do with any other password you have. You can use the same password you like as somewhere else, but it is not officially related to anything except Windows. That's an important point to get across, because many people get confused as to what this password is. So the way it would work initially would be, you would buy the computer, you would bring it home, take it out of the box, it would be set up, and in that setup process, that first run, you would be asked for a password. And whatever that password is that you put in is your Windows password. there are a couple of little caveats. You can change your password later on by logging in to your computer and going to a section called System and then User. But that's for another lesson. This one is just a very basic introduction to Windows 10. So I'm going to now type in my password. And like all real passwords, it should be quite long, at least 12 characters long, preferably not words in any language. If you must use words, then use them in an odd order, and put a few extra symbols or items in there, because hackers and criminals are getting very inventive with all passwords nowadays. Gone are the days of the cute, tricky passwords that you thought no one would ever guess. They can do it, so keep them long and random if you can. That goes for anything that uses passwords. And of course, there is now two-factor authentication, which means that after you put in a password somewhere else, most new services require that you have a second password or code that you put in as well. But for the logging into Windows right now, you just need the one password. Those items are just tips. So here we are at the desktop, and we're going to go through the desktop icons. And now the icons on every Windows machine are different, aside from maybe two of them. The recycle bin and Microsoft Edge. Now, the recycle bin is a special icon when you actually delete something on your computer. It doesn't immediately get destroyed. It is placed in the recycle bin for a period of time, just in case you made a mistake. And we'll get to that in a minute. But the next standard icon is Microsoft Edge. Edge is what's known as a browser, an internet browser. It allows you to go to your bank, a web page, and other things. It allows you to do shopping online and all the usual stuff, Facebook, LinkedIn, whatever you're into online. You might use Edge as your browser. There are different browsers, and each display the internet in a slightly different way. It's important to realize that when you're using a computer, your experience can be considerably different than another person's experience, because the computer is so configurable. Everybody can have a completely different setup, and that is why it's really important to know these basics, because once you understand the basics, when someone describes to you a different setup, you can go back to the basics and still figure things out. These are obviously called desktop icons, and beyond those two that I mentioned, Recycle Bin and Internet Explorer, pretty much all the other icons can be anything. Most often, they are documents that you create, pictures, and programs. Programs also go by another name called apps. They are synonymous. They mean the same thing. So if somebody says, I've got an app on my computer that does whatever, they mean program. And somebody says, I've got a program on my phone that does whatever, they mean an app. It's just different terminologies for the same thing. Fun fact, the term app is actually the older term that was used when the personal computer was first created. And it's funny that it has come back into vogue because we referred to them at first as apps, and then we went to the term programs, and now we're back at apps. Whatever you call them, the software, the programs, the apps on your computer, all the same thing. Now, it's important to also know that the desktop icons can be a program or a document, be it a document, be it a photo or a program, or they can represent a photo, a document, or a program, but not actually be the thing. In most cases with icons on the desktop, they are not the actual item. They are pointers to the item, and you can tell the difference because icons that are pointers to other items have a little arrow. And what that means to you is that even though if you double left click on an icon with a pointer and the program starts, okay, because there's an arrow on the icon, you could actually delete the icon. Here, I'll delete something we're not going to use for a while. I'll start the program first to show you that it actually starts, and then I'll close it, and we'll get into these icons in a bit. Okay, but now I'm going to go and I'm going to delete the icon. So I'm going to right click on it, and I'm going to choose delete. Now, by the way, you saw now that Recycle Bin looks a little bit different, but I wanted to show you that the program, the video player, which is what I just removed the icon for, is still there. If we go into the search box and I type in VLC, and I go up to it and I click it, left click, the program is still there. I have only removed pointer to it. And in Windows terminology, such pointers are called shortcuts. And that is the case of the icon representing the program, but not actually being the real thing whenever you see an arrow on the image. So let me go into Recycle Bin, and I'll pardon me, I'll right click on the icon and I will get it back. Here we go, restore. I have to confirm it. There we go. We will explain the details of what that message you just saw somewhat down a little bit later, probably in the next lesson, but that has to do with the security procedures in Windows. Certain parts of Windows are protected because if you don't know what you're doing, you could damage them. Not all programs are going to be treated in quite the same way. Alright. Now, okay, let's see what we got. Oh yes. So, that is basically the idea behind desktop icons. They represent programs, pictures, and files. Okay? If you don't see an arrow on the icon and you delete it by throwing it in the recycle bin, here, let's do that again just for the heck of it. I'll click it once to select it. That's left click to select it, and then I will right click and delete it. Okay. Now, if I right click and I delete something in the recycle bin, then that icon will truly be gone. Okay? So if you throw something out in the recycle bin, it's truly gone. So be careful. Make sure that when you're deleting stuff in the recycle bin, that you really want to. That's why it's there, to give you a second chance. Because we're going to use this program in a bit, I don't want to delete it to icon. So I'm going to restore it again. Let's get this turned down. There we go. Now I'm going to cover one more thing in this section, and that is right clicking versus left clicking. You left click on things in most cases to do one of two things: selecting the program or the icon to tell the computer to pay attention to that item, right? So that if I were to do other things, it would know what I'm referring to. I just left clicked on it once. Double left clicking tells the computer I want to start the program. This is also called running a program. right? Now, when you right-click on an icon, this is after you left-click on it once so the computer knows what you want to work with. So left-click on it once. That tells the computer, hey, I want to do something with this item, with this icon. And then you right-click. It gives you a whole list of things that you can do, and it's going to be different depending on what the item is, what the icon is, what it's pointing to. You can rename the icon, right? So I could call it whatever. I could call it Pat. Okay, as long as it's got an arrow and it's just pointing to the actual program, it doesn't really matter what you call it. But you can do other things. Let's see. I can make copies of the icon, right? I can do a whole bunch of things. So right-clicking gives you options, right? Left-clicking tells the computer either focus on this item, or if I double left-click, run the item, start it. Now the next thing is, why is Microsoft Windows called Windows? I mean, what's that all about? Well, it has to do with a concept, an idea that Microsoft and a few other companies put forward many years ago when mice became popular. Became popular, and we were moving from a text-based computer concept where you did everything by typing to what's called a graphical user interface. That's the desktop, basically the idea that everything in the computer is represented by an image. And the idea was put forward that every item should be in its own box, its own area of the screen. And they coined the phrase window, right? So every program in Microsoft Windows is contained within its own window, and that means that it gives you a whole bunch of features, and each window has certain similarities regardless of what program is running inside the window. I know that sounds kind of weird, but you'll see what I mean. For example, if we start up a word processor, which is what this icon represents. Doesn't matter what it is named, by the way. I could name it anything. This icon would still point to and run the word processor program. We'll get into installing and removing programs much later down the road. I haven't even planned that video out yet. But for now, we'll left click on it twice. And the word processor program starts. Now, we're going to go through these three icons that all Windows share, and I can prove that the word processor is actually running in a window. I'll drag it down for a moment. And as we can see, it's kind of separate from the desktop now. And if we run another program by double left clicking on the desktop icon, and I'll change the size, and I will explain how I'm doing that in a minute as well. It is in a separate window, and we can move them around and organize them. And yep, you can even, depending on the programs that are running, you could even copy and paste items from one window to another. So the idea of windows, I right clicked and got a whole bunch of menus. You can actually have, I could if I wanted to have several different documents opened on the same time, at the same time, in different windows. So it's actually quite a powerful idea of putting everything in its own separate container. Now, all windows share the same three basic icons in the upper right hand corner of the window. They are close, which most people are familiar with. If I close it, it will stop the program. It will end the program. Okay, now if I want to start the program up again, I have to double left click on its icon. Right? And that's pretty much what the X, or as they call it, the close windows. What do they call that actually? I think it's just called plain old close. But that's what the close window icon, that is a white X on a red background, does. Now the color and of the icon and the back of the color of the icon doesn't matter. What matters is that it will always be in the same position. And if it says close, that's exactly what it does. It terminates the program. It ends it. So let's open it again. Let's start it again. And by the way, open and starting and running usually mean the same thing. So when I say open a program, I mean start it. When I say run a program, I mean start the program. There's a little bit of nuance there, but you'll get that as we go along. Okay, the next icon is the one in the middle, and it changes a bit depending on what state we're in. Right now it's calling itself maximize. If I click it, left click it just once, the window takes up the full screen and allows you to utilize one program full screen at a time. Okay? But if you want to reduce the window down to the previous size, if you go over the icon, it's changed and it's also renamed itself to restore down. Right? So now it's restored the window to the previous size. And now it maximized. We've got the maximize icon again. So that's what the middle one does. It resizes your window from the biggest to the small to the previous size. I was going to say the smallest, but that's not true. It goes back to whatever size you had made it, because you can have windows of different sizes. Here, I'll show you. I'll make this really thin. Okay, if I go maximize now and then restore down, so it goes back to whatever size and shape you gave it. And that is so you can get kind of fancy with your organization of programs and windows. Okay, the third icon is a bit of an odd one. And at first, it's going to look like I closed the program, but it's not. It's called minimize, which tells the computer, make this program use as little screen space as possible, but keep it running, keep it working. If it was a music player, it would still be playing music. I wonder actually if we can do that. I'll try that in a minute. Let's see. Okay, now I just minimized the word processor. It looks like it's stopped. It looks like it's closed, but it's not. It's still there. And we know that because we've got an icon down in the taskbar area. Still running. And we know this for sure because the icon is got a line underneath it. So whenever you minimize a window, it puts it in the background, gets it out of your way, but it does not stop the program, right? And to get it back, as you saw, you left click on the taskbar icon. Now, you watch when I close the program, the icon disappears entirely from the taskbar area. And we are going to go into more detail into the taskbar shortly. But for now, I just want to show what the minimize icon does. So that is very handy to know when you want to get something out of your way, but you're not finished with it. You can minimize and work on something else. Actually, let's see if we've got some music in Windows that we can play. Okay, this is the moment of inspiration and a little bit of improv. I want to make clear exactly that minimizing a window doesn't turn a program off. So I think I've found the best way to do that. Let's go to our music player over here. And let's start some music playing. So we'll go to media. Let's get over there. And we'll start some music. Okay. Okay, now we have music playing, right? And if I minimize it, the music's still playing. matter of fact, I can now go to another program, double left click, and work on that. And to do whatever I want to do. And the minimized program is still playing. So that should make clear the difference between closing a program and minimizing it. Now, if I close the music player, it indeed will stop playing. So now we'll get back on track, but I just wanted to throw this in as a good example of what minimizing does. It simply puts your program in the background. Okay, the next item we're going to cover is the Windows Start menu. And as its name suggests, that's where a lot of people start using Windows. It's kind of like once you get into the car, you turn the key. Well, this is kind of the same thing. And it is always located by default on the bottom of your screen on the extreme left side. The little flag, which nowadays looks more like a square, but it's on the extreme lower left side. And on Windows 10 it can be moved, but most people don't move it. So to open up the Start menu, you left click, and there you go. And in the Start menu, it's an alphabetical listing of all your programs on the left side. To scroll down it, you move your mouse carefully a little bit to the right, and you will see a bar that gets larger. Here it is. I'll do that again. It's a little tricky, and you left click and hold the left click mouse button down. Hold it down and then move your mouse toward you, and as you can see, you go down through the alphabetical list of programs. And to run a program, you only need to left click anything once in the menu. So let's see, we'll pick Maps. I left click to open the program, and there we go. The Start menu is just one of the many ways you can start a program. But there's a lot more to the Start menu. As you can see, some of the programs are in big squares on the right side of the menu. They're called tiles, and to put a program on the right side of the menu in a nice big tile, you simply go over the program, highlight your mouse, move your mouse over the program, and then right click and pin it to start. Okay, by default, the program will be added in a tile to the bottom of the Start menu. To move it up or wherever you want in the Start menu, you left click and hold, and then move your mouse up. Whoops. And as you do, it scrolls up to the top of the menu. Then you let the mouse button go, and there you are. So now you can have all your favorite programs handy by simply going through the alphabetical list, right-clicking on the one you want, and let's find one that isn't already in the start already in as a tile. Hang on. Windows by default will also add things to the start menu for you. Oh, I don't know, let's see. Okay, and then we drag it up. Now we can put it anywhere we want. Left click and drag. Let's put it there. Now, let's say after a while you don't want to use that program as much, or you got a replacement. How do you get them off the start menu? You simply right click on them, on one of them, and you unpin. This does not remove the program. It does not delete the program. It simply takes it off the tiled area of the start menu. Okay, a couple other things about the start menu. Over on the extreme left, you will see a set of icons. We'll start with the bottom one, power. If you highlight the icon with your mouse, just move your mouse over it. You can turn the computer off by going to shut down. Please, when you're finished with the computer, always use this to turn the machine off. Many people just abruptly pull the plug or turn off the power switch. That is not good for any computer. The reason is the complex software that runs a modern computer basically leaves a whole bunch of notes to itself on what the heck it's doing at any given moment. If you abruptly shut it down, all these notes stay on the hard drive and accumulate space, take up space, but more specifically, when the computer starts up, it doesn't know that it made notes to itself, because each note is given a random name. And the other thing that'll happen is when a computer shuts down properly, it terminates things in a certain order. If that order is not completed successfully, the computer starts up in a kind of what they call a dirty state. It doesn't start up smoothly. It may have things stuck halfway in process. It'll save you a lot of time in the long run if you always go to power and shut down in order to turn your computer off. Even if the shutdown process takes a long time, only forcibly turn the machine off when it's stuck, or there's a reason that you have to stop immediately. Also, it's good every once in a while with Windows 10, you should do a complete restart. Now, restart is different than a shutdown. A shutdown turns the computer off, but not completely. Parts of the computer will stay on, kind of the way they used to have old TVs that were called instant ons. And a restart completely shuts everything off, simulates turning the power off, except that it makes sure everything's done in the right order, and then restarts everything from scratch. This you should do probably once a week if you use your computer a lot. It tends to keep the thing running smoothly. Okay. The other items in here are things like documents. You can double click on it and go to your documents folder. If Windows knows what kind of file you're making, like a word processor, a photograph, what have you, it will attempt to put it in the correct folder, which is just a storage area on your hard drive or in the computer. If Windows can't figure out what it is that you've created, it will put them in either your documents folder or your downloads folder. Anything you download, that is, anything you click on the internet and download or save, let's say a photo from a relative, or no, not a photo, because it will understand what a photo is, and put it in the photos folder. But let's say they send you, a screensaver, which is an odd format. Anything that Windows doesn't recognize, it will, by default, put in the documents folder. Okay? Now, because this is a test machine, most of it's empty. But on a normal machine, these folders can get pretty full. Many people nowadays forget to clean them up every once in a while, especially if they get a lot of games. Keep an eye on these folders because they can get full of stuff. And over time, that will slow the machine down. We'll cover this in more detail when we get to installing programs. That'll be in another lesson because it's fairly involved. Okay, now back to the start menu. Okay, so we've covered, the next one is your user account. In this machine it's called test. And that allows you to sign out. What that will do is it will sign you out of Windows and allow you to log back in. Not very useful if you're a single person on the machine, but if you share the machine with somebody else who has their own password, then they can sign in with their own password and Windows will keep their stuff and your stuff separate. So if a family member has their own account, it's always a good idea when you're finished to sign out. It will take everybody back to the login screen. Okay, where are we here? Okay, sign up. Pictures is kind of, it's another folder, another storage area. for pictures. That's where you'll find all your pictures. Here we haven't got much, but it's the same idea as documents. That's why they're all listed together. Now, we're going to go through your user account because settings is a fairly involved discussion, and right now we just want to keep it very straightforward. But we will return to settings later. Hang on, I goofed. Oh, here we are. There it is. You can change certain things about your user account. You can add a picture. Because this is a test machine, it doesn't have the ability to do that. Now, I think we're going to go on to the taskbar, which is the bottom part of your screen. Usually it's a darker color. One way you can tell that it's the taskbar is on the extreme right-hand lower side. You will always see the time. It's the same area that the start button icon is located. So we're going to go there now. And there's actually a lot to it. Okay. Whenever you run a program, it's the taskbar is the area where the icon or the program will show up. That tells you the program is running. Okay, so we open up the music and movie player, which is called VLC. And there's the icon for it. And as you know, when it's minimized, you can left click and bring the program back. So that's one of the purposes of the taskbar, is it tells you what task is running, right? The next thing that the taskbar does that's very common is on the left side, but not quite over to where the menu is. You usually have a search box. And if you click it, a big menu opens up, and that was a left click, of course. And it allows you to search for things. Allow me to demonstrate. Let me get the mouse in the right spot. Okay. Get over there, mouse. Now, it's important that when you click on the search box that you have a cursor blinking, because that's going to tell the computer, okay, I'm going to type something here. So if we look for our movie player, VLC, it's a movie and music player. There it is. I click on it, the program runs. Now, when you're in the search box, the computer has a protocol that it follows. First thing it does is it looks in its hard drive for whatever you're typing. If it finds it, it displays it. If it finds more than one that are similar, you get a list. Right? And it also keeps track of what you've done with the program. In this case, we played some music, so it knows, Windows knows, you played this music file before. If we click it, it plays it. Okay. Now, what happens if it doesn't find what you're looking for? Then it automatically searches the internet for you. And as you can see, by default, every once in a while when you click on the search box, it will give you news and entertainment. The computer is always connected to the internet. As long as it's on, it's got an internet connection. And the way Microsoft has designed it, it's forever kind of looking. So it knows I'm in Vancouver, so I could even go up to here and go Vancouver weather, and it opens a browser, and there you go. Okay? Now, if you type in something that is not contained in the computer, let's say popcorn. I don't even know what this will do, but then the computer will automatically start doing a search on the internet and display some results in the window. On the left side are alternate searches. On the right side, it's what it thinks I'm looking for. Now, because I'm into computers, it doesn't give me the food or the snack first. I've used the Windows 10 long enough that it knows, okay, we'll go for the programming stuff first. But if we look down the list, maybe we'll get actual popcorn. It's a live list, so you never know. Here we go. 6 different ways to make popcorn. Alright, I better not look at that because the lesson will stall. So again, first it looks in the computer itself. If it doesn't find it, it automatically starts searching the web. And it also takes a guess at what you might want. And these are all separate searches that it will start if you click on them. Right? If you click right on it, it will start a browser for going onto the internet. If you click oops, I think I got a name in there. I'm getting tired. It's been a long day. Or did I do it again? Nope, I got it right. Okay. Now it's going, he didn't find what he wanted before, so I'll give him another result. But what I wanted to show you was, if you click on the arrow next to one of the searches, it brings it up in the window. If you click on the item with the search itself, then it brings it up in a browser. Two different ways to do the same thing. Okay, that's the gist of the search box. It's one of those things you can explore, and you can also filter things out by exploring the documents filter, the web filter. I'll leave you to explore those because there's lots. Okay. Moving right, there's a funny little icon here called Task View. Let me close the search box. Now, what is this thing? Okay, this icon, the Task View, is a little hard to explain, but I'll give you a brief synopsis. If you use computers a lot, then oftentimes you find out that you just don't have enough room. You get a window open here, a program over here, and your screen gets cluttered. And by the way, to click and drag, I think I covered this before, but just in case I didn't, you put your mouse button near the top of a window, and then you hold down the left button and move your mouse. That's how you drag. So you end up with a bunch of windows and not enough space. Well, let me set something up so I can show you. So here we have one layout. We can go and click on Task View, and we can go up to New Desktop. Click it, and it gives us a blank desktop. So we'll open up the movie and music player, right? And maybe a browser. Let's just do it for fun. We can get it. Oh, it doesn't like that. Every once in a while you get an error code, and because my test machine has limits, I may have just overdone it. Let's see if we can straighten this out. Okay. See, even people that know computers have to work with it for a bit. So the goal here is I want to show you what to do when you run out of room on your desktop. Okay, that's good enough for now. Now, so you've got the movie player and the browser over here, but you also have on the original screen the other stuff you were working on, and you can flip between them. It's like having more than one monitor at a time, except it uses one monitor. So basically, you could have a game on one screen and something else on another screen, and you can flip between screens. And you do that by, there's desktop 1, there's desktop 2. To click to add yet another desktop, you click again, and you get a blank, and you can put a third collection. A note here. Some people go kind of crazy with this, and they get you will run out of memory. Obviously, to create a whole new desktop takes memory, and when you shut down, it's always a good idea to go back to your desktops and turn them off when you don't need them. Because otherwise, when you shut down, the computer will remember all of the desktops that you had open, and it will open them all up again next time you start the machine. And I've seen people with 8 desktops going, and they're wondering why their computer is getting so slow. And that's the reason. They've forgotten about the other desktops, and they keep adding more. So that's what the task view does. It's actually a very powerful tool when you get used to it, right? So to start a new desktop, you go New Desktop, click it, there you go. To get rid of them, you click X. The very first desktop you cannot get rid of, because that's the primary one. The other one, the secondaries, you can get rid of. Okay. What's our time here? We're getting a little short. Okay. Now, just like in everywhere else, if you've got a program that you use a lot, you can pin it. For example, let's say we had the word processor open a lot. So when you see a program's icon on the taskbar, one thing you can do is right-click it and pin it. Then it will stay there, even when you close it. It's closed all right, but its icon is there to make it handy to start again. One left click is all you need. You can also unpin the icons. Again, this does not get rid of the program, it just gets rid of the icons. And when you unpin from the start, from the taskbar, they don't get thrown in the garbage, in the recycle bin. The icons get disconnected, and in order to put them back, you would have to start a program, and this program is big. It's meant for drawing and artwork, so it's very complicated. But I can pin it, and there we go. The icon for GIMP, the graphics image manipulation program. It's a free program, very powerful, very useful. I will explain how to get reasonably safe programs on the internet. There are sources well established, but you have to be careful. And you always, when you get a program off the internet, must scan it with your virus checker. Please do not just randomly pick the first thing you find on a search engine. Do your homework. We'll get into search engines as well. Okay, we'll unpin that. And I think I'm going to take a break for a bit, and then we will continue with the right side of the taskbar. So I shall return shortly. Okay, I am now on my real Windows desktop. This is my machine that I use every single day, and as you can see, before we get to our network connections that we're going to discuss and how to connect to the internet, my desktop is completely empty. It's got no icons on it. They're there, they're just hidden. I prefer to use icons in my taskbar down below. All my main programs are there. Okay, but now over to the right. We were just about to discuss the network connections icon. And when you're not connected to the internet, you get a globe or a little symbol of a world, and if you hover over it, you can see that it says not connected. Connections are available. And that means that it's picking up the Wi-Fi signal. Laptops will definitely be able to do this, and most modern desktops now can pick up Wi-Fi as well. Wi-Fi is just internet over the radio, sort of over the airwaves. It comes from the box that your internet provider gives you when you first sign up for the account. And by that I mean the people that set up either your Cablevision or your phone or any of that, they usually bring in a box called a router, and it will by default transmit a signal that you can use for internet. Now, if you're using a desktop computer, a big old box, they usually have connections on the back where you can actually plug a cable, usually a blue or yellow cable, from your router into the back. If you've got that, that's always preferable. It'll give you a much better connection and be a lot less hassle over time. But if you don't, if you're watching this on a laptop, the first thing you do is you gotta connect to your router. And your ISP will have either given you the password information you need, or it'll be on a sticker on the router. So first thing you do is click. There are many Wi-Fi connections in a modern building or neighborhood. Only connect to a connection that you recognize, and it's most important that the connection have a lock. If it doesn't have a little lock symbol by it, you don't want to connect, because without the lock, it means that any hacker out of even high school or elementary could listen in using some simple software and literally monitor all your activity. So unless you know what you're doing, do not try to connect to a Wi-Fi connection, and the Wi-Fi is always represented by this radiating symbol from a dot radiating outward. So once you find the Wi-Fi connection that matches your router, and it'll most often be at the very top of the list. And again, look at your router, there will be a sticker on it giving you what's called the SSID. And if you see on the sticker SSID equals whatever, that's the name of your router. And below that, it'll have a password. So in my case, we're going to go for Patrick, because I custom named it. And if you leave connect automatically filled in with a check mark, that means the laptop or your computer will remember your password, and next time you turn it on, turn the computer on, it'll connect automatically. So just leave that check mark in and go connect. Then it's going to ask you for a password. Okay, and you type it in, and you can click the little icon here to see it. I don't mind if you see that one because that's a temporary password. So again, if you need to see what you typed, click the little icon and then click next. Now, if you have hooked up to your router other computers, and you want to be able to send files in between one computer and another, you would click yes to this question. There's a lot more to making this work than just clicking yes. But if you have a printer, you'll also have to click yes to this question, because that's going to enable the computer to talk to the printer. If you're at home, it's more than adequate to go yes, even if you don't have anything connected aside from your computer to the internet. It just means that the machines can talk to each other. If you are in a business or a public setting, you can click no. Just like the message says. Okay, so we'll click yes. And there we are. We are connected. And now we should be able to quickly surf. Yep, we're connected. Now, as you can see, it's changed to this little icon down here. This indicates that you're connected to the internet and that you're using wireless. Wireless, again, is a radio signal that's transmitted from your router to your computer if you're using a laptop. If you're using a desktop, I recommend using a cable, in which case you will see a small symbol of a computer right here instead of an internet, a wireless symbol. let's see if we can simulate that for you. Pardon me while I do some fiddling around. First, I will disconnect my wireless. So I'm going to go disconnect. See how it's changed back to the world or the globe icon. So we're disconnected. Now I'm going to go into my internet connections and enable the wired connection that I normally use on my computer. Don't worry about this. This is the technical side of things. Okay. This we might get into way down the road. Okay, I'm going to re-enable my wired connection. And as you can see, the icon has changed to a little computer. Okay. So if you've got a wired connection, that's great. It changes to a little computer. If you don't have a wireless card or device in your computer, you won't get this list when you click on it. You will simply get the name of your wired connection up at the very top. Okay. We are now, might as well finish this taskbar overview while we're still here on the real computer. Okay, the next area you see is going to be the time, and if you click it, you get a calendar. And it's pretty straightforward. You can click on dates and add an event. If you right click on the calendar, you can change, where is the date and time? Okay. I can't find the date and time right now. There it is. If you right click on the date and time, you can adjust the time. Okay. So that's pretty straightforward. This last area, this little bubble, or it's where if there's a issue, Windows will put a number in there and send you a notification. Right now I don't have any notifications. And also at the bottom of the notification area, you will have a bunch of shortcuts. Clicking on them just allows you to go to a area on your computer quickly, or activate a certain function. Like I could turn on nightlight, and my whole screen will change. It will remove the blue, right? We can all, there's all sorts of things you can do. So that's what the notification area is. When Windows has an issue, it will put up a note and add a number to this. It'll change to a different color as well. Alright. Believe it or not, folks, we're getting close to the end of this overview. This part 1 of Windows 10 Basics. And it's been an adventure putting it together, let me tell you. Alright, we need to go back to my virtual machine. Oh yes, a virus checker. A virus checker is most important. Even though Windows 10 has a pretty good virus checker called Defender built into it, I advise getting a virus checker. Please only go to well-known companies. I won't get into it right now, but go to a company like, and I'm not sponsoring anything. Go to Avast or any of the others, but I would suggest Avast or Panda. Those are both well-known companies that have been around for a long time. All computers come with a free virus checker for the first 90 days or so. But don't let anyone tell you that you don't need one. You do. Especially if you're not that internet savvy yet. Okay, let's see if... Okay, I'm going to pause for a minute, and we're going to go back to my virtual machine, my test computer. Okay, here we are again, back at my test machine. And we pretty much covered all of the basics for Windows 10, except shutting down. Please do this. When you're finished with the machine, go to your Start menu by right-clicking on the flag or the square, depending on how you see it, in the bottom left side of the taskbar. Click it and go to the power icon and then click power and then click shutdown. Now, when you do this, Windows may do updates when it's shutting down, and the shutdown may take a long time, especially if you're using a computer that's over 5 years old. Let it do its thing. Don't abruptly turn it off or pull the plug or push the power button. That will just cause problems when you start up again. On an older machine that's over 5 years old, shutting down, and if it decides to do updates, may take about an hour. On a newer machine, it just takes about a minute. But either way, if you see an update during a shutdown, let it sit there. Okay, one moment. I'm going to try to record a shutdown. This can get tricky. I've got to set up a few things. One moment. Okay, shutting down my test machine crashed the video capture software, but I think you saw enough there that you should get the idea. When shutting down your Windows computer, or any computer, always follow the recommended procedure. And for Windows, that is going to the Start menu, clicking on the little power icon, which is usually at the bottom on the extreme left of the menu, and choosing Shutdown. And then letting the computer take as long as it needs to shut down. On an older computer beyond 5 years old, like 6-7 years, if you're using Windows 10, the computer's probably very slow, and a shutdown might take quite a while, particularly if you get an indication that Windows is doing updates. They may take a long time, and by a long time it could be over an hour for the slowest machines. Do not interrupt them. Let it sit there. Even if you're used to bypassing it and going, I give up, I'm going to just turn it off and hit the power button. Don't do that. It just asks for problems. Let Windows shut down, and if it needs to do an update, let it do an update. That actually now brings us to an end of part 1 of Windows 10 Basics. I will now compile this hour-plus program into something and upload it to YouTube and post it on my website, notesintheLeftMargin.com. This has only been part 1. We will do a part 2 whereby we get into the basics of the internet. And depending on feedback, I will be re-editing the video, this one included, and improving it over time, as well as I will end up writing a written version of this and posting it to the website under the appropriate area. I can't remember what I called it at this point. I think it was just Windows 10 Basics. But I'll provide a link if you're watching this on YouTube to get to the website to read the article. Give me time to write that article. There's a lot of detail. It's going to be long, but I will put it together over the next week or two and post it permanently on the website. So thank you very much. Have a great day, and we'll see you again for part 2, which will be an introduction to the internet. And the introduction to the internet is going to be much more applicable to everyone, because there's a lot of commonalities no matter what computer you're using. Have a good day. Bye-bye for now.